Welcome back. It is still Friday, December 27th, 2013. This is still the Morning Edition. Last I checked, I'm still your Ella. Now, a controversial visit Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe made to a shrine commemorating the country's dead from World War II associated with the country's Axis past has promoted outrage from neighbors China and South Korea, adding to recent tensions in the region. To hear more about it, we are joined by i24News correspondent Danny Swibel. Danny, good morning to you.
Good morning, yeah.
And before we delve into the subject, let's take a look at the following report.
Tension between Japan and its neighbors, high enough to begin with, rose to another level today. The reason is Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's visit to the controversial Yasukuni Shrine, a monument built to commemorate Japan's World War II dead, an act which angered China and South Korea, two countries whose populations had suffered greatly at the hands of Japan during the war.
中国政府对日本领导人
The Chinese government expresses strong outrage and protest and solemnly condemns Japanese leaders ruthlessly trampling the feelings of Chinese people and people of other war-affected Asian countries.
抗议和严厉谴责。
Yasukuni Shrine is believed to be the repository of around 2.5 million souls of Japan's war dead. Most of them common soldiers, but several are high-level officials convicted as war criminals. China and South Korea have repeatedly expressed anger in the past over Japanese politicians' visit to the shrine, and today's visit was no different.
아베 총리가 이러한 야스쿠니 신사를 참배한 것은
Prime Minister Abe's visit to the Yasukuni Shrine shows that he has a wrong perception of history. It is an anachronistic act which is fundamentally damaging the ties between South Korea and Japan, as well as stability and cooperation in Northeast Asia.
시대착오적 행위이다.
Abe, who took office for his second term exactly 1 year ago and is the first serving prime minister to visit the shrine in 7 years, said he only wanted to pay his respects and had no intention of hurting the sentiments of Japan's neighbors.
There is criticism based on a misunderstanding that visiting Yasukuni is an act that honors war criminals. But my intention was to report what I have done for the last year to those who sacrificed their lives for their country. I also wanted to show my commitment to bringing about a peaceful world where people will never again have to suffer in wars. I have no intention of hurting the feelings of the people of China or South Korea.
Abe's commitment to preserve peace fell on deaf ears. A few hours after the visit, the South Korean Foreign Ministry summoned a Japanese embassy official in Seoul to protest over the visit. China also did not wait long to react and summoned the Japanese ambassador himself to express its anger.
日本领导人说出这样的话，完全是阳奉阴违。
Some Japanese politicians keep talking about democracy, freedom, and peace, but at the same time promote militarism and beautify Japan's foreign aggression and history of colonization.
和平挂在嘴上。
The United States has also expressed its disappointment over the visit. A written statement by the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo said the country's leadership has taken an action that will exacerbate tensions with its neighbors.
And we are also joined from Bangkok, Thailand by i24News South Asia correspondent David Nataf. David, good morning to you. David Nataf from Bangkok, South Asia correspondent. Well, we are going to go then to Danny Swibel. Danny. Okay, you got to help us Westerners understand this. At the end of the day, this is a visit to a shrine. Why is everybody so upset?
It is just a visit to a shrine. It's seemingly something so simple, but this is an extremely serious, important thing that he did. This really exacerbates tensions. Unfortunately, many innocent people are commemorated at the shrine, sure. This is what Shinzo Abe said.
Yes, but you know, again, you know what, and by the way, we are joined by David Nataf now from Bangkok, Thailand. David, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I mean, this sparks so many nationalistic feelings in the region. How so?
Yeah, the real problem, the real issue, as you know, is the huge reserve of oil and gas under the Sea of China, and you have now China and Japan struggling for the hegemony of the Sea of China in order to to own this huge reserve. So you had some kind of good relationship between Japan and China, but now it's finished, and China took the first reason to escalate the aggressivity between the two countries.
No, but at the end of the day, China basically declares an airspace belonging to them, and in return, the Japanese Prime Minister goes and visits a shrine. Can we equate the two?
Listen, on the same day, they were celebrating the 120 years anniversary of Mao Zedong, who is responsible for 45 million dead in the world. So it is not a real good reason to change or elevate the aggressivity between the two countries.
Right.
It is just, the first mean they found in order to claim the ownership and the hegemony on the region, and especially on the little island, Senkaku Island, located exactly in the middle of Okinawa and the Channel Coastal. And underneath, you have the second reserve in oil of the world after Emirates.
Right. David Nataf, thank you for joining us. Danny Swibel, so when the Japanese Prime Minister goes ahead and visits that shrine, he knows in advance what this is going to do, doesn't he?
Absolutely. It's a certain finger on my hand that he's giving to the Chinese. Yeah. He's saying a message, because the thing is, we know that there was actually a man named Hideki Tojo who was a war criminal who was tried after World War II, who was executed, and he's commemorated there. Everyone knows that this kind of people are commemorated there. So to go to a place after strict U.S. warning not to go there, when Joe Biden was in the region, he says, do not go here. You will exacerbate tensions that are already very tense over these rocks in the middle of the water that they're fighting over. Do not go there. So him going there is a strong message to the Chinese. And I think he hopes that the Chinese respond in some way.
No, it's interesting you say, and by the way, those rocks in the middle of the ocean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of natural gas there. There's a lot of money involved there. But if the United States, let's talk about Japan and the United States, because Biden warns the Japanese Prime Minister, yet he goes ahead and does that. Do we believe that the Japanese are feeling they're not protected enough by the Americans, their so-called big allies, when it comes to this rift between China and Japan? And this is also a message to the U.S.?
The Japanese are always fearful that perhaps the U.S. won't get involved directly, and they look at a lot of issues. They look at Middle Eastern issues and see, what does the U.S. get involved in? What do they not get involved in? So the Japanese definitely, especially under Shinzo Abe, want to boost their military capabilities. And so I could see them, the Prime Minister especially of Japan, thinking that, if I really push the Chinese and they should do something to push back, this is the way I could perhaps justify my military boost.
And in that respect, when China and Japan, all of these animosities seem to be carried out in a very polite way, is my only way of describing it. But, is this a message to you said you think, we're theorizing here, that he's hoping the Chinese are going to react. But where does that conflict stand now when it comes to the airspace and, the tension between China and Japan?
Well, first off, let's go a little further back. I mean, the thing is, the way the Chinese and the Japanese don't trust each other has been going on for decades. Right. So they assume the worst of each other. Even the peoples in the societies really haven't had that conversation. When you think of German people and Jewish people, they've had that conversation in history. The Japanese and the Chinese have not. So there's a complete lack of trust there. Even if they work together regionally, it's still nothing short of just dysfunctional.
And again, as we discussed before the item came up, will probably be the international conflict du jour of the coming weeks. But Danny Swibel, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we're going to move on.